Hello, Scott Hutchison here, and welcome to my studio space. So, I am based in Arlington, Virginia, and I paint out of my home. And what you see here is about 4 years worth of work. Let's come around here so you can see this side of the room. So you can see that the studio continues, it keeps going. And let me, if you don't mind, I want to bring up a few specific pieces to talk about, which exemplify what my work is about. So first of all, I want to talk about a curve, a presence, and the space between. This work I finished last year, and what I do is I have a model shoot where I will take upwards of 100 photos, and I let the model pose as they may. You know, I don't really guide them too much. All my models know my work and know what I'm currently working on. So I think that perhaps influences them somewhat, perhaps their poses, but I don't guide them too much. What happens is they inspire me. So when I bring those 100 or so photographs back to the studio, I digitally collage them on the computer, and I'll spend upwards of minimum 8 hours on the collage, sometimes 2 or 3 days. And the intent of that is to flush out the composition, the structure, the idea. You know, that inspiration, like I said, comes from the models. And I'm not really sure what I'm saying before I begin. And it's not until I look at the photos and look at the collage I created that a story unfolds. For example, this story, really, it's about an inner struggle that this woman is having. It could be a memory, a ghost of the past. It could be time displacement, that you're seeing different moments brought together in one scene, two different people experiencing the same moment. But my work is really about time and how, you know, our personality is very much molded by our experiences and how we are affected by those experiences. A curve, a presence, a space between. It's sort of a play on words, because that figure, she's sort of reaching between, and that's the space between. She's reaching between and kind of reaching toward us. But she's also reaching toward us here as well, and I really enjoy the conflict between this fading figure that's sort of struggling, that's there but not there in reality, and I feel like she's kind of winning in a way. But I enjoy that struggle. This piece here also has a struggle. Let's come up closer to armor. When I composed this piece, I really felt like this figure had an inner strength. He's caressing or holding himself, right? He's protecting himself, but it's not just his arms, because there are multiple arms here. I feel like he's being held back or confined by the space around him, the canvas, because he's definitely enclosed by the canvas, isn't he? But I don't really feel like he minds too much. Instead, he's has this inner strength, inner life, and hopefully that comes across through the vibrant colors that I'm using. Gives it an energy and a life. So this is an oil on linen. The previous painting that I showed you was an oil on aluminum. So let me come back up again, and you can see that there's no texture. It's very smooth, because aluminum is very smooth, and so it doesn't catch on the texture. If we come back down to armor, you'll actually see the texture or the ridges of the linen. So the reason why I did that, honestly, I work on both surfaces, and it kind of depends on what I'm trying to say, you know, whether I use aluminum or linen. And I tend to lean into using aluminum. Oftentimes I'll go with linen if I want the piece to be a little bit bigger. However, these two pieces, these large pieces, happened to be aluminum. This one is aluminum because of the circle. I could have had a circular canvas made one, but one benefit to the aluminum, and this one remains unframed and will never be framed. There's a gap. So there's a hanging apparatus behind Dream Tank. That's what this one is called. There's a hanging apparatus there, and so when a light comes down, let me turn a light around. When a light comes down onto the canvas, it casts a shadow. And I feel like that bumps the image out really nicely. So that brings me to my two newest pieces. And this one has been left in an underpainting state for about 7 or 8 months. The good thing about this tour right now is you can actually see two very different processes. One, like this one, I use more of a dead layer process. So I'm painting a colorless layer. And this is on aluminum, but I'm painting a colorless layer that I intend to put color over the top of later on. I've stopped because I'm at a crossroads with this piece because I actually like it the way it is. However, I go through my moments where I look at it and think it definitely needs some color to it. I mean, coming from these pieces here that are very colorful, dark, and that color creates a mood. This one is definitely different. So I'm being careful with it. I haven't gone any much further because I need that time to sort of think about it. Now this one is very different. I began with color right away. So this is not finished yet. This one is on linen. It has yet to be titled, but you can see where that's the linen, the right there, the white. It's the primed bare linen, and then I begin with a very thin underpainting, and this area is more finished here. To be honest, I'm actually enjoying the finished and unfinished, the real and dimensional element versus the very flat and more abstracted element. So we'll see where this one goes. If I bring the whole piece up to the same level, or if I leave it, you can see it in the eyes there, how it's dimensional on the left and then it becomes flat on the right. Now coming over here, I have some older work here actually. It's not that old, I would say probably around 3 years ago. But this one I feel like this is one I need to speak about. This one is titled Medusa, and Medusa, maybe for obvious reasons, it sort of looks like the hands look like snakes in her hair. At least that's what I was seeing when I painted it. Now this was the first of this series. I really felt like I discovered something here when I started it. I'd never done this before. Most of what I'd worked on before this series, a lot of this came out from my experience doing animation. I didn't work for an animation company. It was me as an artist. So I would do 100 oil paintings to create a piece of visual art. So if you go to my website, scotthutchison.com, you can actually see some of those animations. So this was an exploration that was sort of foreign to me if you compare those animations to this. And one thing remains true. I was still interested in creating movement and an animated effect. And you can still see that today in all of this work here too, is I'm still really interested in movement and creating a portrait that's not static. And so let's come in a little closer here. This is on aluminum as well. Very expressive, very colorful. Medusa is a great size. I can actually show you what it's like on the back of my work that is done on aluminum. So what this is it's a product called Debond. which is a 3mm to 4mm thick aluminum. If you can see that. And I rough up the side that I'm going to paint on, prime it just like you would a normal canvas, and on the back I adhere a hanging apparatus, and that way it has wire to hang on and also a little bit of a stabilizer so that it sits off the wall really nicely. So people ask me, why hands? Why is it that you paint hands? What is this? And really, when I first began on Medusa over here, I was still interested in animation and creating movement. And how can I activate the portrait, not just do a straight portrait? The model I was using at the time, she was very expressive with her hands and in her poses. And I told you right at the very beginning that I am inspired by the models that I use. And so through the act of collaging digitally and really looking at her work, I started noticing the movement and the repetition in her hands and thought, I started composing around that portrait. And it's not just hands, it's now it's heads, it's arms, it's legs repeating. But I like to think the hand itself is the way that we interact with the world. We hold each other with our hands. We express love. We hatred with fighting. It's like how we kind of hold on, and it's like an extension of our mind is our hands, I think. Thank you so much for stopping by and taking your time to join me in my studio. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to contact me at my website or check me out on Instagram at Scott Hutchison Art, or YouTube is also Scott Hutchison Art. So thanks a bunch. Bye-bye. If you go to my website, scotthutchison.com, you'll see a lot more work that I have there. And I also have an online store there to purchase either a painting or drawing, limited edition prints, posters. I also have a limited edition hardcover book that I made last year that spans 4 years worth of work. Those are signed, by the way. A print run of 150. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.